Sunil Kantridge was born and raised in Sri Lanka. He completed his Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering at the University of Moratuwa in Sri Lanka, and then continued his studies at the University of Toronto, where he completed a Master's of Science and a PhD in Engineering. He has worked for over 25 years in the Canadian nuclear industry, specializing in nuclear reaction safety. And his first book, The House of 1,000 Memories, published by Iguana Books, is a story of a boy growing up in Sri Lanka in the 60s and 70s. And it is one father's attempt to record his family's history for his son and posterity before it is lost to the shifting sands of time. So let's please welcome Sunil.
Good evening. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you, Gavin, for organizing this. Thanks for the honor, everyone, coming to listen to me. So, and it's an honor to share this stage with you guys. I'm in awe because I'm from the engineering side, logical, science, all that. And here I am listening to you guys, and it goes way over my head. I'm so glad I'm here today. Anyway, so before I get to the reading, I'm going to tell something about me and the background of the book. So my plan today was not to read from the book itself, but to talk about the book and make it so interesting that you guys will all go and buy it. So that is mine. So I'm an engineer. That's my day job. But I'm also an amateur photographer. Take a lot of photos, post them on social media. I've got an award or two over the years. And I read a lot. And we travel a lot as a family. And now I'm a published author. That is the part that I really can get my head around. So, I was born and raised in Sri Lanka. Grew up there, went to school there, and went to university there. And we came to Canada in early 80s to do graduate studies at University of Toronto. So my wife and I, we've been living here for more than or nearly 40 years, and our son was born and bred here. He's totally Canadian. He's now 25 years old. Still at home, doesn't want to leave home. So, about the book. So here it is, The House of 1,000 Memories. It's about the first 25 years of my life in Sri Lanka. It's a very easy read. It's 160 pages. And by the way, all the photographs at the front and the back are mine. Okay. So you might wonder, how does this memoir fit into this tonight's theme of love? I thought about it. So it's not about the love between two individuals. It's about the love in a family. It's about the love you have for your parents, the love you have for your siblings, and it's love of one's roots, where you grew up, your culture, and what you went through. Okay. That's what it's all about. It's a very nostalgic look at the middle class Sri Lanka in the 60s and 70s. Unfortunately, that's a society that does not exist even there now. Okay. It's all gone. So along the way, you get to read about my family, my friends, about the society we lived in, things we did, what we ate, how we played, and a few other things. So it's a very personal story, sometimes funny, sometimes emotional, and it's a very nostalgic look at what I went through. So I wrote it from my heart. I did not write it from my engineering side of my brain. So it's a very special creation for me. So now let me tell you how it got to be written. So my father passed away about 20 years ago. and my mother passed away last August. She was 90 when she passed away. And so last 6-7 years, she declined slowly with dementia. She was living with my sister back in Sri Lanka, and she was very well looked after. She had everything, all her needs met, but her quality of life went down gradually from year to year to year. So during this time, every year I would go back to visit her, sometimes more than once, and I could see how she went down gradually. And at the very end, her mind was totally gone. Not that she couldn't think, but it was not connected to reality at all. So she was talking about places, characters, and events that he had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. So this was in January of 2019. So when I came back from Sri Lanka that time, it weighed very heavily on my mind. And so I kept on asking myself, what will happen to us when we grow old? How will we preserve our stories? And will our children remember them? So that was the impetus to write it down. So the basic idea was that I want to keep the story of my family alive. So then I thought, okay, I need to write it down because although my son is quite familiar with Sri Lanka, having been there many times, he does not have detailed understanding of what we went through and what we did, things like that. So I consider it a very special gift from me to him. But at that time when I wrote it down, publishing it was the furthest thing from my mind. So I started writing the story at the end of January last year, 2019. It was self-therapy for me. And the moment I started writing, it was as if a dam burst, like the story came rushing out. And if you believe it, the first draft was written and completed in 2 months. So I first gave it to my wife to read here, and then to our son, and to my surprise, he was very appreciative. So then I sent it to my sister who lives in Sri Lanka, and her reaction was that you have to publish this. So that was the first time that I thought, oh, okay, I have something in my hands that could be published. But before it could be submitted to a publisher, it had to be cleaned up, it had to be restructured and edited and things like that. And then the question was, how do I find a publisher? So in my mind, I had this idea that, oh, you have to go on your knees and plead at various publishing houses, and it'll take years and years for you to get it published. So what happened was that there was a friend of mine who had worked with me. When he retired, he had published a few books, and he had published the books with Iguana Books. So I sent my manuscript to Iguana and waited a week later. Greg emails me back saying that we'll be happy to publish it. So that was that. So the publication process started in April, and the book was out by the end of August. So in less than 8 months, I had written a book, I had found a publisher, I got it accepted, and we completed the whole editing process and production process and brought it out. So miracles do happen sometimes, and sometimes they happen to me. So this is a living example. What is also interesting is that what happened at the very end of the publication process. So in early August, as the book was going in through its final production steps, our house was sold in Sri Lanka, the house of 1,000 memories. It was in the market, so it was not a totally unexpected thing, but And then on the 28th of August, I think about 2 days after I had got the printed copies in my hand, my mother passes away. So the universe was telling me a circle of life has completed. The story is written, now the main characters need to exit the stage gracefully. That's what she did. So that's the story of The House of Thousand Memories. The book has been quite well received, both here and in Sri Lanka, and in fact it is, as we speak, is being published there as well. So before I get to the actual reading, let me set it up. So the main story is set in Sri Lanka in the 60s and the 70s, but it is book-ended by 2 chapters at the beginning and at the end. So the first chapter, I talk about a visit that we did in 2018, where I walked down my old street, go through the gate, open the gate and go into our old garden, and the memories come flooding back, and the whole story unfolds in the next so many chapters. So what I'm going to read is the other half, which is at the very end of the book. So it is called Coming Back Full Circle. So here goes. It is August 2018 and we have been in Sri Lanka for 2 weeks. This is the last day of our visit. Later tonight we are flying back to Toronto. Like all our visits to Sri Lanka these days, it has been rushed 2 weeks. There are many things you have to do during such a visit. Spend time with your mother, meet family obligations, visit ailing relatives, and participate in a wedding or 2. And then, this being Sri Lanka, you take time off to go to the mountains or to the beaches. Amid all of this, I really did not have much time to visit the old house down my old street. At the last moment, I get a chance for a quick visit to the house. That is how I ended up walking down my old house that evening. I'm glad that I at least had a short time at the house, for this might be the last time I will be there. We are planning to sell the house, as neither my sister nor I am in a position to keep it in good repair anymore. So I go in, take a look around the house one final time, walk a bit in the garden, and take a few photos. Later that night, as I wait for our flight at Colombo Airport, I begin to go through the photos that I took. As I come to the set of photos that I took at the house, time seems to stand still. My mind goes back nearly 50 years to a different place and a different time. As in the famous movie line, it was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. As I look through the photos, I see more than what I recorded through my camera. My life is flashing like a movie reel on high speed. I see the house as it was when it was a place full of life, laughter, and people. I hear my sister singing along to a song on the radio. I see my cousins hanging out on the veranda playing cards. I see our old car parked in the driveway. I see our dog crawling in the garden. Then I see the house as it is now, old, tired, and lonely. The veranda is empty, the windows are all closed, the fruit trees that adorn the garden once are all gone, except for the old mango tree that my father planted many years ago. Tears come to my eyes. As Buddhists, we should not feel sad. Everything is impermanent, I say to myself, but it still hurts. That's all I'm going to read today.